There's a very important concept I want to talk about right now. It's the concept of population, or how many people live in your country. Naturally, few people live in your country, then your country may be at a disadvantage, because it means you can't build a big army, and if you can, it'll probably cost you a lot. Moreover, imagine if this small army had a large nation to defend. Well, that massive nation has a name, and its name is Saudi Arabia. So, what am I talking about? Well, Saudi Arabia is currently facing a dilemma. A dilemma is basically a question that has no good answers. So, what do I mean? Well, look at this. The kingdom has a population of about 20 million Saudi citizens, which means about 20 million people that can serve in the army and who are responsible for protecting the kingdom's borders. This number, 20 million, is a lot, but I'd like to refer you to this map. This is Saudi Arabia, and this is Iraq and the Yemen, on the kingdom's northern and southern flanks, with populations of over 40 million people. And here are Egypt and Iran, on the kingdom's western and eastern flanks, with populations of over 90 million people. This map means that if the kingdom ever faced a threat from its highly populated neighbors, then on the basis of just pure numbers, it would be at a disadvantage. And the thing is, this has happened before. Let's go over the history. Back in the 1950s and 1960s, Egypt sent thousands of troops to support an anti-monarchist faction in Yemen, which was a bit of a problem because it is, after all, called the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia's response was to buy weapons from America. And then in the 1980s, Iran's revolution happened, and the country became much more hostile to the Saudis, but was eventually made busy by its war with Iraq, who received Saudi financial support. Then in 1990, after Iraq, led by Saddam Hussein, had ended his war with Iran, he went and invaded Kuwait, a country who, like Saudi Arabia, had a small population and an army that, just because of pure numbers, couldn't really compete with Saddam. Naturally, the Saudis were concerned because their large oil fields were within striking distance of Saddam's troops, and it looked like they were next. What happened after, though, was major. See, America saw the oil and what was going on and decided that it should do something about it. And it led a global coalition to go in and free Kuwait. Following the Kuwait War, America understood the importance of protecting Gulf oil, and as a result, Saudi-American ties improved greatly, with the Saudis purchasing more US-made weapons and allowing America to set up bases in the kingdom. So, throughout history, the Saudis have often faced enemies from countries who, because they had larger populations, also had larger armies. And the kingdom often made up its shortcoming in numbers and population by creating alliances, most notably with the United States. This was a notable dynamic, and it would be notable for the next big enemy the Saudis would face, and that enemy was Iran. So, after the Kuwait War in the 2000s and 2010s, Iran would see its influence expanded to places like Iraq and Yemen, on the kingdom's northern and southern flanks. If a Saudi-Iranian war was just a plain shooting match, then the Saudis would be at a disadvantage just because they have less people, and even if they were successful, it would cost them a lot of money. The country, for example, spends about 7.3% of its GDP on defense, which is a much higher percentage than what countries like Iran, Turkey, Pakistan, or America spend on their defense, which is about 2 to 3% of GDP. And if a Saudi-Iranian war happened, well, that brings us to today. So the Saudis rely on American support to defend the kingdom, and for the most part, it's been very successful. The country has avoided political instability and has managed to be one of the safest and most stable countries in the Middle East. But the thing is, America, at the end of the day, has its own interests, and those interests sometimes don't agree with Saudi Arabia. The kingdom, for example, was not quite happy with the US invasion of Iraq in 2003, nor was it happy about the Iran nuclear deal in 2015. And more recently, reports indicate that they weren't exactly 100% on board with starting a war against Iran. Add to that American support for a state of Israel who's increasingly keen on expanding its influence in the region. It would seem like these types of things, not really beneficial to the Saudis, would cause a break between Riyadh and Washington. But this is the dilemma. See, there are two major centers of power in the Middle East, and those two sides are at war with each other. On the one hand, you have the State of Israel and the United States. And on the other hand, you have Iran and its Shia allies. These two powers upend the region with their war, and their war leaves the Saudis with no good option. The Saudis can choose to join the Americans and the Israelis in their attacks on Iran, but that risks appearing too sympathetic with the Israelis, which would be very unpopular in the region right now. On the other hand, they can choose to oppose the Israelis and help Iran, but that risks increasing Iran's regional influence while also being exposed to an American or Israeli response, meaning that there's not really any good answer to their situation. So, given this situation then, what can they do? Well, for starters, a few months ago, the Saudis made an alliance with Pakistan, but there's a bit of a problem, and it's that Pakistan, even though it has a big army, Pakistan does have to face off against both India and the Taliban in Afghanistan. Okay, in that case, what about Egypt? Egypt has a good relationship with the Saudis, and also a big army. But the country already needs to protect its border with the State of Israel and Gaza, and handle instability in neighboring Sudan and Libya, meaning they're also a bit busy. Okay, well then what about Turkey? Turkey is also busy. It has to compete with Russia in the Black Sea and maintain its long land borders, including anything that's going on in Syria right now. So okay, the situation isn't great, but that doesn't mean that all hope is lost, or that the country is going down a terrible path. There's actually a lot of things that they could still do. For one, they can buy weapons from Europe and China, and invest in their air defenses. Other countries may be interested in keeping the Gulf secure because of oil. And add to that, Saudi Arabia's military isn't exactly small either. It has about 250,000 active military personnel, and a significant amount of weapons and military power. And they can also boost domestic weapons manufacturing. But ultimately, despite all that, the same issue of population persists. And that takes it back to America, the only country who has been willing to station troops within the kingdom and whose support will likely be crucial to balancing against stronger enemies. So, Saudi Arabia, in addition to the other Arab Gulf countries, have always been quite different in the Arab world, in terms of culture and tradition, and even geography. This video helps explain that a bit, so check it out. I think you'll like it. Until then, thank you for watching.